Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help mental health professionals grow their dream practices and live a life they love. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building tips. We invite you to take advantage of our private practice paperwork and our signature marketing e-course. And we have a gift for you. This is the exact methodology we use to create our six-figure private pay practices and have helped many other therapists do the same. Go to privatepracticestartup.com and on the homepage, click the button to download a free copy of your dream private practice playbook. Now on to today's episode.
Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. I am here with Susan Block, our amazing coach, and I'm so excited to be co-hosting with her today. Hi, Susan.
I know. Hey, Kate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, so, you never know whether you're going to get a combo of Katie and myself or Susan and myself or Susan and Katie. So we always like to keep you on your toes. And today we're going to be talking about a really fun topic that's going to be super helpful for those of you who are in group practice, or maybe you're a solopreneur and you're considering transitioning and expanding into a group practice, because we're going to talk all about how to onboard new clinicians into your group practice. So before we dive in, we want to welcome you. If you're a loyal listener, welcome back. And if you're new to Startup Nation, we want to welcome you too. Katie and I actually have a gift for all of you. As a therapist in private practice, you need to assure that your paperwork is up to par with all of the legal and ethical requirements. And as of January 1st, 2022, we're actually in March now. So 3 months ago, we were all surprised by the new regulation for medical professionals. Therapists are obviously included in that with the No Surprises Act. But no worries, we've got you covered. We want to give you our good faith estimate bundle for free. So head over to our website, privatepracticestartup.com, and you'll see it under the resources tab. So make sure to go ahead and take advantage of that. And before we dive into today's topic, let's take a break to hear from our sponsor.
Practice Solutions is a full-service billing company that specializes in the mental health industry. They've worked with private practice clients ranging from solo practitioners just starting their practice to larger group practices with multiple clinicians. Practice Solutions has even helped a few of their clients to be able to grow from a single clinician to a thriving group practice with multiple locations. This is due to their mission of alleviating the burden of billing to free up your time so you can spend it with clients and on building your practice. Practice Solutions billers all have many years of experience in insurance billing and have helped clinicians to get stubborn claims to process, in some instances recouping thousands of dollars worth of claims. If you're looking for a friendly and reliable billing expert to add to your team, reach out to Practice Solutions by filling out a contact form at practicesol.com. That's practicesol.com/startupnation, or calling 734-437-9432, extension 709.
All right. And really quick, I just want to say, I hope you all joined us last week where Katie and I talked about how to get the greatest return on your investment when it comes to marketing. So Katie and I had a lot of fun recording that episode. And if you haven't listened to it yet, definitely go back and do so. And now it's time for us to dive into today's episode, talking about how to onboard new clinicians into your group practice. And for those of you who know us already, you know that I have a group practice in South Florida. I've been practicing with the group practice since 2011, and we're just actually getting ready to open our third office location, which will be in Plantation this summer. I'm very excited about that. And over the years, we've grown the team. Right now, we have about 30 clinicians. And when we open up our new office, we'll probably have about 10 more. So it's a team of 40. So I have a large group practice. You guys will be hearing from my perspective of having a brick and mortar office. And it's so cool because you're getting multiple perspectives on this episode. Susan has recently expanded her solo practice and opened up an online group practice. Yay, Susan.
Yay.
So excited.
I know. I'm like sitting here listening to you talk about, your brick and mortar practice. And I've just been so fascinated watching your practice grow, and to have now potentially three this summer is incredible. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's so exciting to be able to talk about this from having the different perspectives. And I know that you've been working a lot behind the scenes for a while now with this vision of expanding into a group practice. And why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your online group practice and your experience launching this?
Definitely. So this was not something that I ever intended to do. Let me be very clear here. Before COVID, like most clinicians, it was brick and mortar. I rented space and just took care of myself and my clients and was going about my business. And then, of course, as we all know, COVID hit. Most people went into lockdown and we, moved into, the online video sessions. It was something I had always wanted to do, the telehealth portion of it. And then COVID really kind of pushed me into doing it and then eventually keeping it and giving up the brick and mortar. So with, everybody going through all of their life issues with COVID and family and anxiety and grief of losses and things like that, the practice was just growing faster than I could keep up with. And I was having to put people on a waiting list or refer them out to other group practices. And I was doing all this marketing and putting all this work into my solo practice, yet I couldn't take on any new clients. And so I just had like an epiphany one day where I thought, why am I not bringing on more clinicians and really being able to serve the community in a way that I really needed to and wanted to? I felt terrible for turning people away. They were calling, they were in desperate need. They knew they wanted to work with me or my practice, and I just didn't have the space. So that's really how the idea was born. And it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, it's so exciting about how the need just arose and you completely pivoted based on all of the life situations that we were all going through simultaneously with COVID and transitioning to telehealth and realizing that you really didn't need your brick and mortar office or all of those overhead expenses anymore. And that you have done such an amazing job with your marketing and your reputation. And so many people have that demand of wanting to see you. And then you still wanted to be able to serve them. And so to expand into the group practice was an awesome thing to do. Tell us a little bit about your experience transitioning from solopreneur to group practice owner.
Yeah, there was a lot to learn. I felt like I was at the very beginning when I was first starting out my solo practice about 10 plus years ago. And so I just kind of went with the same mentality. When I first started my solo practice, I connected with people who I knew were doing what I wanted to do. And I was asking a lot of questions. I just really wanted input from people and professionals and practices that were doing it and were steps ahead of me. And I was a sponge. I soaked everything up back then, and I did the exact same thing this time. And, Kate, I actually reached out to you and picked your brain a little bit on it, and you were so helpful. And so that's really what I did in the very beginning is I just gathered information because I had no idea what to do first. So gathered information. And one thing I figured out very early on is what is my purpose in opening my group practice? I know I needed to figure out, do I want to have other specialties in my practice, or was I looking for the same specialty? I work with couples primarily, and I realized I needed other couples therapists that were able to specialize in the same way that I did so that I can continue serving the community, the couples that I work with. So that was the purpose in doing this, was to bring on other clinicians who wanted to join my group practice and become specialists in working with couples specifically. And I think that's really important for people who are considering group practices is to understand, do you want a niche practice or do you want many areas of specialty so that you're really able to serve, many people in many capacities?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really important to have that. There's a lot of decisions to make to get that clarity surrounding what type of group practice you want to have, whether it's niche-based or more generic, serving a broad range of presenting problems and issues that people are having. Also, the type of business model that you want to have, whether you want to have a real estate model like myself or a fee split, more supervision and mentorship like you have. there's so many possibilities in between, and really figuring out whether it's brick and mortar or online or a combination thereof. And so let's imagine that our audience has all of those factors picked out, and they've already gone through the interviewing process. They've selected these really great these really great new team members, and now starts the onboarding process. I guess let's imagine that's where we are, because that's the specific topic here today. And there's so much to talk about with group practice, and we'll have to come back and talk about some of the other aspects.
Exactly. So the onboarding for me, and it might look different for, everybody. Because I was new at this, I had to actually transition my solo practice into a more systemized way. And what I mean by that is I needed to get more, everything digital. And that was a labor of love. There were a lot of tantrums that I threw in the background. And so, I had my team in place. And what I did was I gave myself time. I said, I'm going to give myself about 2 to 3 months to really go through that transition period, so I can take all of my paperwork, get everything electronic, figure out which EHR that I wanted to use. I needed to figure out my phone system so that everything ran in a very smooth and systematic way. So I had to learn all of that myself before I could officially have the clinicians or the practitioners get ready to start seeing clients. So that took me about 2 to 3 months to get all of that in place. And once I was ready, it was smooth sailing from that point on. So that's the phone system, the EHR, Zoom, the credit card merchant. I mean, all of those things that you don't think about, that you just kind of do without thinking. And I needed to make sure I understood all of those pieces first.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're bringing that up, because it's interesting how we, there's some similarities and some differences, right? You're very fresh with all of the creation of the new systems and expanding and transitioning with the group practice. So that's all very fresh in your mind. And then for myself, I have a little bit of a different business model than Susan does. So Susan has everybody working off of the same EHR and same systems, right?
Yeah. So
same
basically,
under you.
Right. So they're independent contractors, but they're almost like having a W-2 employee without having those additional responsibilities. So they're getting mentoring from me because I don't have a brick and mortar to give them space. So I needed to make it worth their while. I needed to make it worth my while. And then also for our clients. So I had to be able to provide other things that you don't necessarily have to provide because you're providing the space, even though you might do mentoring and getting everybody, on the same page, just with your philosophy of your practice. But for me, that was part of the package that I wanted. When I was bringing new clinicians on, it was important for me to pick therapists that were open to the mentoring and that wanted to join in on my EHR, my phone system, my forms, right on the coattails of my marketing, all of that. So basically they show up and they're getting handed clients in a sense. They still have work to do, but they don't have to do all of that themselves, which is great for them.
Yeah, for sure. And there's pros and cons to each model. And depending on where you live, sometimes you don't have a choice about the model. Like, for example, in California, you actually have to have W-2 employees. So always make sure you're staying in accordance with the laws and rules that are a part of the state that you live in. And here in Florida, we have options. We have more options. So we have the ability to make those different types of decisions. And Susan was talking about the creation of creation of systems. That is, one of the most important things in developing a streamlined onboarding process for new clinicians, whether it's an independent contractor or an employee. Wherever you fall along that continuum, having the systems created is super important. So thinking through, like Susan was talking about all of those different touch points. And if you're bringing somebody on who's going to be accessing more of your systems and you have them more heavily involved in your own business and brand, then it's going to look different than how we have it set up at our group practice. We're doing more of a real estate model, and so everybody owns their own business. They're incorporated. They're more independent, and so my systems look a little bit different. And I can remember when I first created the onboarding systems and all of the scripts for people who were reaching out and potentially interested in renting space and joining our team, and then what that whole funnel looked like, and then creating the whole the interview scripts for our client care coordinator and assistant who are involved in that level of HR and actually interview, and then they get to the interview with me. And so there's a whole stepping stone. And then when we move forward with having them join the team, then there's the scripts and the shared overhead arrangement, which is basically the contract. And having all of this documented along the way takes a lot of time to do. But once it's documented and it's systemized, it makes it so much easier. So when you get to the point of sending the script to the team member to officially invite them to join the team, and having a whole, once they've signed the contract, it's official, sending them all of the onboarding steps. So this is the part that took me a lot of work. And I often go back to refine it and review it and make sure that everything is up to date and as easily digestible as possible. So the way that I've done that is I've created a checklist. So it's basically start your private practice checklist. So when people are joining the team, or you could have a join the team checklist, and all of the items are on there, from legal tasks to websites and pictures and marketing to all of the policies and procedures, making sure that you have all of those created and documented, whether it's safety procedures or COVID procedures or quick reference guide and, what to do in the case of an emergency. There's a lot of different policies and procedures, and creating that is important. How are they going to get paid? So whether you're paying them or they're paying you, working out all of those details, working out the details of the calendar and what to expect. And if you're using telehealth, creating documents and streamlined resources for troubleshooting. If a client has an issue, or if they have an issue, a tech issue, what do they do? So it's just thinking about all of these different details. If you have a brick and mortar office, how, what happens with the keys and callbacks and directions to the office. And there's just so many things. And
if I can add, and I would imagine, because I just went through this, that, the listeners right now, if they're thinking about doing this, they're kind of in the thinking phase and they're listening, they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know until you get started. And one of the things that really helped me with the overwhelm is, at first I thought I have to get all my systems in place first before I bring on a clinician. And what I realized is if I waited to do that, I would have never done it. So what I did instead was brought the clinicians on, then gave myself a countdown clock. So luckily it was the end of the year. And so I said, okay, January 1st, we're going to hit the ground running. So once I knew I had them hired, I thought, okay, now that kind of lit a fire under me. Now I have work to do. So it was really helpful for me to get them on first. And I said and I was very honest with them. I said, I'm new at this. So I'm learning with you. And, that as I learn, I'm going to teach you. And this is a learning process for all of us. So it was just a great way for them to feel more comfortable around it, that we all learn together.
Absolutely. I love that you say that, because you're so right. Done is better than perfect. And there's a lot of this that you can figure out as you go through. And it is time consuming on the front end to create this. And it's a lot of work. But once you have it systemized and streamlined, and even take it a step further to leverage people and technology to have it work even better for you, you can outsource it and train other people to do the onboarding process, the hiring process. the training process, the interviewing process. So it's not something that always has to be on your shoulders. As you grow, you can start to step out of that. Or if this is something that you absolutely love to do, and growing the team and being that involved in the business is something that you don't want to outsource, that's cool too. It's really just making sure that you're staying in alignment with your strengths and natural talents and how you want your business to work for you and your life.
Yeah. And I think just going a step further, now that I have all the pieces in place and the clinicians have their clients that they're seeing, now is like the great part, really, because we're serving the community more. So we're able to, make sure people are getting the help that they need, and everything is staying in-house, which is so great. And, the therapists are making, great money doing what they do, because I'm a self-pay, full fee practice. And so they're, enjoying the benefits of private practice for the first time. Some of them, were in agency work or working for a school system and just not making a lot of money. And so this is the first time for them that they're really getting the benefits of that. Our clients are doing really well. And I was sharing with you kind of off audio yesterday, Kate, about I was on vacation recently, and it was so nice being able to, be at the beach and knowing that the income was still coming in, the passive income. My clinicians were working while I was on vacation. And so I was like, finally, I'm at that point. So it was just such a cool new experience for me. And I'm just really excited to continue growing and expanding.
Absolutely. What was that like for you to just, celebrate that and be connected to that? I'm on vacation. You were in the Dominican Republic at the time, yes. Beachside. And what was it like for you to just...
I looked at my phone and, I was just like kind of mindlessly scrolling on social media, and I'm like, let me just check my emails, and, got the notification of the payments that were coming through. And it just like put a smile on my face. I was like, I cannot believe that I'm finally at this point, because I remember all the hard work, all the tantrums again that I threw, months before, and just waiting for that moment. And then it happened while I was on vacation, and it just felt incredible.
I love hearing that. That is so cool. Yeah. And I love that you're talking about these different points of perspective, because I can remember when I was still seeing clients myself, and there's a cap for us as therapists, how many clients we could see. And I was, owning multiple businesses. And after having my second child a few years ago, I decided to step back from seeing the clients. And it has allowed me to help so many more people in the community, because helping people is something that's so important to me. It's a big part of my passion. But I was so limited as far as how many people I could truly help in a week when I was still seeing clients myself. And so when I stepped out of that role and focused on the group practice and growing the team and expanding and having multiple office locations, we've been able to help so many more people in the community, and to be able to focus on the team and making sure that they're all, connected to their passion, doing the work that they love, staying balanced, and not having to see a mass amount of clients every single week, so they can keep their passion alive and they can make a really good income while doing so. It's so powerful. It's amazing to have that impact.
And I want to just, follow up with what you're saying. You're bringing up a great point, that I was starting to feel burnt out. I was, I don't want to say no to people who are calling. So I'm like, all right, what's one more client? And over time, it was becoming a lot, and I felt I was starting to feel a little resentful. And I knew that was not how I wanted to step into therapy with the clients that I'm working with. They don't deserve that. My clients deserve a therapist who is, refreshed and energized and taking care of their own mental health. That's the best thing that you could do for your clients. So if it meant I needed to expand to a group practice so that I can actually become a better therapist for the people out there in the community, that just made sense for me. So it's the money is the bonus that comes with a group practice, but it was not the primary focus. The primary focus was serving the community, just like you're describing, And I think for our listeners and when I do coaching, one of the biggest frustrations or concerns for clinicians is that we are empaths. We are wanting to make sure we're not coming off as like marketers or salesy or we're making it about money, that's just not who we are. So when you lead with, I'm serving the community, I'm taking care of myself and my own needs so that I can step in and serve the community in the best way that they deserve, then it just all falls into place.
I love that you're talking about that. And let's take a moment for our sponsor.
Is managing your practice stressing you out? Then try Therapy Notes. It makes notes, billing, scheduling, and telehealth a whole lot easier. Check it out and you will quickly see why Therapy Notes is the highest rated EHR on trustpilot.com. With over 1,200 verified customer reviews and an average customer rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars, you'll notice the difference from the first day you sign up for their free trial. They offer live phone support 7 days a week. So when you have questions, you can quickly reach someone who can help, and you're never wasting your time looking for answers. If you're coming from another EHR, they make that transition really easy. Therapy Notes will import your client's demographic data free of charge during your trial, so you can get going right away. Use the promo code PPS, as in Private Practice Startup, that's PPS, to get 2 free months to try out Therapy Notes for free with no strings attached. And remember, telehealth is included with every subscription, absolutely free. Make 2022 the best year yet with Therapy Notes.
Let's face it, the working world looks different than it ever has. Whether you're a brick and mortar private practice or an online practice, taking care of your team couldn't be more important. That's where Gusto comes in. Gusto's modern HR platform makes it easy to hire, pay, manage, and support your employees or independent contractors all in one place. That means no more jumping between applications and no more jumping through hoops. Your payroll, benefits, hiring, and onboarding, team management tools, and so much more are all in one convenient place. On top of that, Gusto provides actionable insights to inform decisions around workforce costing, competitive compensation, and employee engagement. So all these tough decisions you make each day as a business owner just got a whole lot easier. The best part? Listeners of our podcast get 3 free months of Gusto by going to gusto.com/PPS.
Yeah, Susan, I love that you're touching on this. And there are so many benefits to group practice and being able to, of course, it's a lot of work on the front end and, there's a lot of moving parts, and depending on what type of group practice you have, it's a lot. It really is. But the impact that you can have and the ability to have more freedom and flexibility in your life and to be able to have options. If you want to continue to see clients, amazing. If you want to focus on more of growing the business and, the business side of things, if that's your passion, amazing. It's just about really taking time to look at your life, to look at your business and evaluating what is the ideal business for you? What is the ideal schedule? What is the ideal, what is it that you really see for yourself and what you want for yourself for the next 2, 5, 10 years as you continue to grow, and what's going to help keep your passion alive so that, if you're bordering on that place of burnout, that you can honor yourself and stay true to yourself and what is most important. We've touched a little bit on systemizing your practice. We've touched a little bit on streamlining your systems, leveraging people and technology to work for you. And I also want to say that it's important to stay in alignment with your values and really foster your team culture. So as you're onboarding new clinicians, whether you're brand new to group practice or you've been doing it for a decade or more, it's so important to have that clear culture, your values, your beliefs, your vision, mission, culture, and that clear brand, because once you're clear on all of that, it allows you to onboard people who are going to be such a great fit and really in alignment with that culture. And the culture doesn't create itself. So if you don't create it, other people are going to create it for you, and it will just evolve in a way that isn't really in alignment. So it's just taking the time to really develop that and then figuring out ways to infuse that into the onboarding process as you're bringing on new clinicians to your team and you're nurturing them and wanting them to continue to be in alignment and fulfill the culture and vision that you have for your group practice. Susan, anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. That when I was at the very beginning stage, someone gave me some really great advice. And the advice was, that treat everyone that comes your way as people. That when you have your potential clients are calling you, even the most challenging ones, that they are people first. So when I was in the interviewing process, I wanted to make sure that the people that I was bringing on to my group practice had the same worldview that I had. And that once they were onboarded and they are now seeing clients, that when there are some challenges that come up with their therapeutic work, or maybe there's a difficult client, or they're not showing up for a session, that we always remember that our clients are people and that we treat them as such, whether it's an email that we're talking with them or on the phone or in the session. And so when the clinicians that I have in my group practice, that is our philosophy. That is our worldview, and we share that. And that's really helped keep things in alignment for me as the business owner.
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed this conversation today, and it makes me realize, gosh, we could go in so many different directions. And it's so nice to have the different perspectives of the online and the brick and mortar and the different types of business models that we have. So it would be great to come back and do a part 2 and maybe explore a little bit of those avenues further with you, Susan.
I think people are like, wait, we have more questions. So I think a part 2 is definitely needed.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And Startup Nation, we appreciate you all so much, and hope that we continue to be able to inspire you along your practice journey from startup to mastery, from solopreneur to group practice and beyond. And for next episode, Katie and I are going to be back. We're going to be talking about tips for naming your private practice. And like it or not, everybody's got to come up with a name. And sometimes that can be a challenging process. So we're going to be diving into that. And we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.